What's up, Throttlers? Aristotle Full Throttle here, and thank you for joining me for another live stream. So, I had a fan last night actually recommend that I watch The Shape of Water, and I think it's a pretty smart idea as a movie reviewer to watch The Shape of Water because it's nominated for an Oscar. So I am excited about that because, you know what? I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's got Sally Hawkins in it. She's quite striking. She's very, very talented. Very awesome. She plays a mute in the movie. She can't really communicate other than through sign language. And she forms a bond with the sea creature, played by Doug Jones. Very, very awesome visuals right away. I have to say that the makeup in these movies, even going back to Hellboy, Guillermo del Toro classic Hellboy stuff like that, striking. I like it. Now, also, Michael Shannon is in this movie, and he plays the typical Michael Shannon type of intense character, where he's just like, I don't know if you remember Boardwalk Empire, but very similar character to that character. And there's something about that dude with his big old head. His head is the size of about a watermelon, and it looks like a watermelon on top of a matchbox. That's what Michael Shannon looks like to me. But he's also an awesome actor, super intense, and he's got this little tick of eating candy throughout this movie, which is a very sinister move on his part as a sort of intimidating boss man, always kind of popping a candy in his mouth and crunching it. I thought that was actually a really cool character trait. Sally Hawkins and Octavia Spencer play maintenance workers in a science lab, and they come upon this sea creature, or whatever it is, this aquatic humanoid. And what's up? Is this Will? What's up, Brandon? Thank you guys for joining me. Just let me know if the feed is coming through strong and if everything looks good. Just give me a heads up on that. But essentially. And Richard Spencer? What's his name? Yeah, Richard Jenkins is also in this movie. He plays an older artist dude, a starving artist, and he's trying to find his way in life, and it's kind of regretted a lot of the path that he's taken in life. And Sally Hawkins is his best friend, essentially. They live in the same building. And she feels like she needs a place in the world. She feels out of place. She feels kind of ignored, kind of thrown to the wayside as a maintenance worker, as someone who can't speak for herself. Octavia Spencer actually speaks for her throughout the movie. And there's some really creative ways that Guillermo del Toro does this, not just through subtitles, but some of the other characters will say what she's saying aloud. So giving her a voice, an actual voice, which is a nice creative way to dance around the fact that she can only sign. And I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of movies like that where I really love where there's like a limitation just by the nature of the relationship. Like, say, Dead Man Walking or Silence of the Lambs. It's just two people on either side of a piece of glass or just... And that's it. That's the dynamic. It's a dialogue between two people who are sitting across from each other. But if you look at those movies, one, Dead Man Walking being directed by Tim Robbins, and Silence of the Lambs, probably one of my favorite movies ever, directed by Jonathan Demme, from Long Island, by the way. I know everybody who's from Long Island. I don't know why I know that, but I'm from Long Island, so I just know if someone else... maybe it's like we have like Long Island radar or something like that. But... in those two movies, they're so brilliantly and beautifully directed, with a limited scene, like a limited. They're very limited by the fact that there's just two people talking to each other across a piece of glass. But when they cross the glass, when they're on one side of the glass as opposed to the other side of the glass, is actually meaningful and very well done and creatively done. So I recommend you guys go back and watch those movies because they are fantastic and creative with the use of how they shoot things. And I think this movie, too, does that in the sense that you're limited by signing, but in each scene, there's a nice development of how we can be creative with that. And a lot of the dialogue in this movie is actually quite creative. And I definitely give kudos to Guillermo del Toro and his writing partner on that, actually. So let's see. Backdoor prequel. Abe Sapien, yeah, Abe Sapien from the Hellboy movies. He's also played by Doug Jones. He's got that crazy long neck. He got that crazy long neck, so they could just throw makeup on him. He's also in Falling Skies, which is a really good TV series. I don't know if it's still on, but I watched the first season or two of that, and I thought that was really good. But guess what? He plays an alien in that because when you got a crazy long neck, you got to play an alien all the time. Apparently, maybe I should go for those roles. Maybe something like that has a big head, and then I could put a watermelon on top of a matchbox and play Michael Shannon in a movie. Hey there, Aristotle. You're pausing every few seconds, and on my end, I can hear you fine. All right. Well, I guess in this feed, we're just gonna have to deal with the pausing every few seconds because a friend of mine, Korkan Nala, suggested I downgrade my streaming quality to 720. So I might do that on the next one. But so far, I guess we're just gonna have more of a podcast feel if you can sort of stand the pausing. Sorry about that. I'm learning as I go. We're all learning, but thank you guys for the feedback because it helps. It helps improve the show. It helps improve the broadcast. Yes, I agree with you, Will. Those restrictions or conventions create their own narrative dynamics and atmospheric tension. Yes, that's the cool thing about having a limitation like that, because you come to rely on that as a storytelling device. And there's a really cool, I don't know if you guys seen The Shape of Water yet, but I might get into some minor spoilers, but there's a really beautiful musical sequence in this movie that unfolds so brilliantly and really gets to show off Sally Hawkins acting at like more of a full range. I mean, it's really difficult to be a character who doesn't speak in a movie, because then you're just relying on all of your actions. And what are you as an actor but someone who just uses their actions? So I think she's great. I think she's great in it, and a well-deserved Oscar nomination on her part. Guillermo del Toro is amazing at creating worlds. This movie, I fully believed it. It felt, interestingly enough, this movie felt a lot like a comic book movie at times, because it felt very, very graphic novel-y. The characters are almost on the line of caricature. They're really close to pushing the end. Like, there's a head scientist at the factory. He's got this haircut where you could just see the drawing of this guy. He looks like a graphic novel drawing. Big glasses, tie, and he's got like this hair that shoots up in such a way. He could be Abe's father, actually, because this movie takes place in the 60s or 50s or 60s, or at least it seems that way. And there seem to be a couple anachronisms that I noticed. I don't know about like how well video cameras and surveillance cameras worked back then, but they had a lot of those in this movie, and they were integral to the plot, actually. Unexpected minus, let's see. It could have been a 2-part episode of Batman the Animated Series Season 1. Are we talking about this? Yeah, maybe Abe Sapien as the old version, as the young version. Maybe Abe Sapien is their kid. Sally Hawkins and aquatic Doug Jones dude had a kid, and the kid is Abe Sapien. That's how I make movies. That's how I make Hollywood movies. Done and done. Go ahead and take that, Hollywood. You could make a sequel, Hellboy 3. And Hellboy 3 can come out at the same time as the remake of Hellboy, and then we can compare the two. It'll be like 1983 when the 2 James Bond movies came out the same summer. Yeah, I guess CCTV has been around for a while. So I guess it totally makes sense. It took me out a little bit because I had to think about it, because I was like, wait a minute. Were they able to, is there, I don't know. That was like one little minor thing, but it's my own issue. Other than that, the movie is pretty phenomenal. There are a lot of things about Guillermo del Toro that I love. because he happens to do this thing where he pushes the limit of grotesque to the point where it becomes beautiful again, to the point that it becomes beautifully disturbing. And there's a lot of that in Pan's Labyrinth. Go back and see Pan's Labyrinth. There's something about facial injuries that Guillermo del Toro is drawn to that is quite disturbing, just in a visceral level. Sally Hawkins had me thinking of PJ Harvey. Hell yeah. She is totally little fish swimming in the water. Give me my daughter. She is definitely, you know, maybe she is PJ Harvey. She should do the PJ Harvey story, which probably, I don't know how long that would last. The PJ Harvey story would be, I'd watch it. She probably win an Oscar for it. I saw PJ Harvey once. It was cool. She's cool. She's still around. She's still making hits. I think she just had a song on the radio recently. Yeah, facial injuries, right? What's up with that? There's something about it that disturbs everybody right off the bat, and I think that's why he goes for it. Michael Shannon, again, very similar to his character in Boardwalk Empire. I only saw the first season of Boardwalk Empire, so I don't know how his character developed, but he was this very, like, I gotta be a man, I gotta be a God-fearing man and do the right thing, but even though the right thing to him is following protocols that don't make sense. See, I'm the type of person, if, like, the rules don't make sense, then I don't like the rules. The rules have to make sense, then I'm okay with it. But he's the kind of guy that's like, I gotta follow the rules, and I don't care if they don't make sense. And there's a scene in this movie that really illustrates that point, and it's kind of unfortunate. It really makes you go, this guy's a dick. I don't like this guy. And you know what? He is a dick. Richard Jenkins. I keep getting his name wrong. Richard Spencer is a totally other guy. We'll talk about that on the other show. Not Richard Spencer. Richard Jenkins. Excellent actor, and there's a really cool dynamic that goes on with his character, a little subplot, a little side story. He's really trying to find his place in the world. He's not only an artist, which is a marginalized profession, if I don't say so myself, but he's also a guy who's on the fringes of society in other ways. I don't want to give it away, but he's not necessarily accepted in the mainstream, particularly in the time period that this movie takes place. That is a really, really touching thing that unfolds in this movie, and I think it was really well handled and really well done, and his character, and he's just a good actor, man. Go see The Visitor. Go watch that, and just like movies from then on out. The hand replaced the face in this one. Yes. Yeah, the orphanage. That facial injury was so disturbing. Yeah, Michael Shannon. I'm going to do a Michael Shannon impression. Michael Shannon. What are you doing? I'm Zod. I'll find it. I can't do it. I can't do a Michael Shannon impression. I'll work on it, though. And I'll do an entire episode of the show as Michael Shannon, but I'll have to make my head larger and my shoulders more narrow. And I'll work on that. So, what do you guys think of this movie? I think it is a well-deserved nomination for Best Picture, Best Cinematography for sure. I hope it wins for Best Makeup, because the stuff is definitely designed by Guillermo del Toro, and it looks so good. It looks like it's part of the guy. It doesn't look like a costume. It definitely seems organic and seamless, and I love that. Yeah, the subplot of this movie, there's a couple subplots. There's also a Russian spy subplot in this movie that's also very intriguing. But it took a while for... Had I not seen the trailer for this, I would have been much happier watching the movie and much more surprised, because it does take a while for things to sort of unfold, and I kind of knew where that was going just from seeing the trailer, but the way it's paced in the first half of the movie, the way it unfolds sort of organically, I thought was really well done. The end might have been a little bit rushed, but I did like the way it ended. It did come around, it did resolve, and the whole idea of this movie too is that it's a retelling of a story. And in the very beginning they say, you know, facts. Yeah, maybe this could have happened. It's up to you to decide. Which I thought was, that's always a great way to tell a story, because stories are just subjective, and I think the thing I love about movies is the oldest thing about it really is the oldest thing about humankind. The way each generation of humankind has improved upon the last one is through storytelling. Telling the stories. Our knowledge is cumulative, and anecdotal stories about creation, about how things work, about the heavens, the earth. These are all integral to our experience, and we relate to symbolic descriptions of these things, which I think is the most human thing that we can do, is to tell each other a story and actually learn a lesson from that story. And this movie shows that everybody's got a place in this world, and particularly Sally Hawkins' character was she just felt she didn't belong, and the only thing that made her belong, or made her feel like she belonged, was Abe Sapien's father, the fish man, the Loch Ness monster. That's what I like about this too, is that it's not just a Loch Ness or a Creature from the Black Lagoon type of movie. It just sort of reverses all of those tropes. I guess it's more of a Swamp Thing type of movie with Adrienne Barbeau, played by Sally Hawkins, played by PJ Harvey. I didn't expect that Big Lebowski moment, and it was well done. Break illusion after the majority of the film. The Big Lebowski moment. What was was it the dragging him across the ground? That was it the Strikes and Gutters, man? Strikes and Gutters? But I'm interested in hearing what you guys think. Thank you guys for joining me on this stream. I'm really enjoying doing these live streams right now. Definitely follow me on Twitter, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Facebook and Insta, because we got to get this channel popping. We got to get this channel cracking. This is the year, guys. We got to do this. There's a lot of changes going on with YouTube, and I'm just rolling with those changes. So get your friends to sign up, subscribe, get your friends to talk about movies with me, because I love to talk about movies with you. And yeah, the musical number was classic Hollywood. Thank you for bringing that up again, Will. The music, I mean, is this Will? The musical number is a classic Hollywood moment. And that's the beauty of this. It's got so many of the check boxes for Best Picture. I mean, it's a period piece, it's a love story, it's not a true story, it's not a biopic. But they do have the classic Hollywood musical sequence, and I'm a sucker for that. I don't like real musicals. If I go to like a real musical, I get a little like irked out that people just decide to just get up and dance and sing. I'm a little disturbed by that. There's something about the suspension of disbelief or the suspension of reality in a movie where I'm like, yeah, it's your world. You can do anything you want in that world. In my world, in the real world, in the tangible first-person world, if you just get up and start dancing and singing, I might not stay for that. I might not stay for the rest of that. Just so you know. Oh, the musical number was definitely the Big Lebowski type of dream sequence. And there are other like fantastical elements in this movie that you just go with, because it's again, it's like a graphic novel. It's kind of like this sort of make 'em up. So there's certain like fantastical things that happen. So you just go with certain things, like the bathroom sequence when the room fills up with water. You're just like, this is like a beautiful dream. Again, facts. We're not entirely sure that this could happen or did happen. But Octavia Spencer, fantastic as always. She's very, I like the way that they play off of just the marginalization of artists, of women, of minorities, and the toxicity of a character like Michael Shannon, who has this thing in his head and has this this ideal of what it should be, what he should be, and it's quite toxic and disturbing. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this chat, on this live stream. I really do appreciate all of your input. This is awesome. I like to do this. We should make this a regular thing. So definitely subscribe if you're watching the replay of this. Like and share these videos with your friends and your parents and your moms, and go about your Saturday. And I definitely recommend The Shape of Water. I would give it 4.15 froze out of 5. And that's my review. How about you? Let me know in the comments below, because I will check these videos and check those comments and reply to those comments in future, as the people from UK say. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I'm Aristotle, full throttle, you bro in the know with the fro.